So a lot of people have been asking, really how I got started in this whole horsemanship journey and my career. And I suppose what I'll do is, we have a No Worries Club journal that we dedicated to it for the first 15 years of my career that just kind of walked through people, how I got started and how I got into it. So somebody suggested one day, why don't you put it on camera so that you can tell more of the stories of successes and failures and screw ups and everywhere in between. So that's what we're going to do. It'll be an ongoing series, and I'll just kind of film the documentation of what got us to this point. In the beginning, what got me into horses is my grandmother. My grandmother, Thelma, loved horses. And me and my sister were drawn to that. My parents weren't necessarily horse people. Well, they weren't horse people. And nobody else in the family had horses, but my grandmother talked my granddad into getting a horse, and she didn't get her first horse till she was like 50 years old. And we didn't know anything about horses. My grandmother I got this from my grandmother. She had a big passion for learning. She loved learning about horses. But back in Australia back then, the early 80s, there wasn't much about training horses other than like English type of horse books, hunter jumper books, show jumping books. There certainly wasn't a lot of any of the natural horsemanship or any of the techniques that a lot of people have made popular now. That stuff just wasn't around, at least in book form, for people to go learn from. So my grandmother didn't know really anything about training a horse, and she did our best to help me and my sister with our horses. We just had honestly, they were just backyard junk. That's all they were. We didn't even really break them in. We just got on them and kind of hoped for the best. And we had a lot of fun and we enjoyed it. But I really got into the horses. I don't know why. I just had a draw for them. I had a bug for them. I enjoyed the whole process. But I was very, very frustrated as a kid with my horses because the sumbitches would never listen, never pay attention. I used to have trouble steering the horses. This horse that I got, my first horse, it was such a piece of shit and so badly trained and disrespectful that as I was going down, like if I was trotting it down the pasture, it would bend its head around, like all the way around to my foot and try to bite my leg. And I don't mean nip at me. I mean, this sumbitch, her name was Cassie. She was an evil bitch. This thing would bend its head around and try to fucking bite my actual leg, okay? And what I would do to not get bit is what any kid would do. I would just quickly jerk my leg back. And then the bitch would turn her head the opposite way, like a snapping turtle, and reach back and grab my right leg. And as soon as she'd go to do that, I'd rip that leg back, and she'd just go from side to side trying to bite my legs. Well, I was pretty agile at that age, so I just fucking keep moving my legs back and forth, and the bitch could never bite me, never get me. She'd bite me, try to bite me all the time. I remember one day, she's attacking my legs so bad, and we're trotting down the pasture. She's not paying any attention to where she's going, and we ran into a big tree. So, because her head's bent, and she's trying to bite my leg, and she runs into the tree. Never forgot that. But again, they loved us grandchildren very much and tried their very best to help us, but we were just very limited in what we knew and what we could get our hands on. But my grandmother did have a big desire to learn about horses, but the information just wasn't there.
Like what you see? Then get the app, join the club, and watch it all. Anytime, anywhere, on any device. Experience the mobile method today.